Sometimes, it is not a big winning lottery ticket that changes a life. Sometimes, it is just a crumpled $5 bill in the right hands. Imagine a homeless man on a cold sidewalk, holding that small bill in his shaking fingers. Does he buy food, escape, or something else completely? And how can just $5 possibly change his life forever? Stay with this story until the end, because this is not really about money. It is about one choice, one small act of kindness, and how it can open a door that looked completely shut. His name was Ethan. A few years earlier, nobody could have guessed he would end up on the street. He had a job at a small repair shop. He had a tiny apartment. Nothing fancy, but enough. Then life started to fall apart, one piece at a time. The shop closed. His mother got sick, and the medical bills came like a wave. He tried to juggle rent, food, and hospital costs, but it was too much. He moved from friend to friend, couch to couch, promising he would get back on his feet soon. But soon never came. One missed rent payment turned into 3. One bad month turned into many. In the end, Ethan found himself on a cold sidewalk, with a small backpack, a few old clothes, and a heart that had slowly stopped hoping. He was not a bad person. He was just tired. Tired of trying and failing. Tired of feeling invisible. Every day felt the same. Wake up on a bench or in a shelter if there was space. Search for food. Avoid trouble. Wait for the sun to go down, then do it all again. Have you ever felt stuck like that? Not on a sidewalk, maybe, but in life, where every day feels the same and you start to believe nothing will ever change. That was Ethan before the $5 bill. One cold afternoon, Ethan sat outside a coffee shop. His fingers were numb. His stomach felt like an empty knot. He was not even asking out loud anymore. His sign was just leaning against his leg. Most people walked past him like he was part of the sidewalk. Then, a pair of clean white sneakers stopped in front of him. He looked up and saw a young woman, maybe in her mid-20s, holding a paper cup of coffee in one hand and reaching into her pocket with the other. She did not say much. She just smiled softly, placed a $5 bill in his hand, and said, "I hope today gets a little easier for you." Then she walked into the crowd and was gone. Ethan stared at the bill. $5. To some people, that is nothing. To him, right now, it was huge. His mind started racing. He could buy a cheap sandwich. He could buy a hot coffee and warm up inside somewhere for a bit. Or, like some of the guys he had met on the street, he could buy something to forget the cold and the pain for a few hours. Across the street, he saw a small convenience store. Next to it, there was a liquor store. Down the block, there was a flyer taped to a lamp post. It said, "Shelter Kitchen needs volunteers. Hot meals and job training. Bus line 7. Bus line 7. The bus stop was 2 blocks away. He knew the fare was just a couple of dollars. He looked at the liquor store. He looked at the flyer. He looked at the $5 bill in his hand. Inside his head, a battle started. One voice said, "Just buy something to numb it all. You deserve at least that." Another voice, very small, almost too quiet to hear, whispered, "What if you used this to try one more time?" Have you ever had that kind of choice? The easy comfort right now, or the hard step that might change your future? That was Ethan's struggle, sitting there with $5 and a heart full of fear. Ethan stood frozen on the sidewalk. His feet almost walked him toward the liquor store out of habit, out of pain. He even reached for the door handle. But then he saw his reflection in the glass. The gray hoodie, the tired eyes, the man he had slowly become. He remembered who he used to be. The man who fixed things for people. The son who held his mother's hand in the hospital and promised her he would be okay, even when she could not answer anymore. A wave of shame and sadness hit him, followed by something else. Anger. Not at the woman, not at the world, but at the idea that this $5 would disappear into another night he would not remember. His hand let go of the liquor store door. He stepped back. His heart was beating fast, like he had just run. He turned and started walking, almost without thinking, toward the bus stop. Every step felt heavy, but also strangely right, like he was walking into a test he had been avoiding for years. He used part of the $5 to pay the bus fare. As he sat down on the plastic seat, he held the remaining change in his fist. He looked out the window as the city moved by. At the shelter kitchen, the line was long. People waited quietly, some talking softly, some staring at the floor. A woman at the front desk looked up as Ethan walked in. "Here for a meal?" she asked. He almost said yes. Then he remembered the flyer. "I saw you need volunteers," he answered slowly. "I can help. I used to work with my hands. I can lift, clean, fix things. She studied him for a moment, then smiled. We can always use hands like that. Help us serve lunch today, and afterward, we can talk about our job training program. Right then, in that simple moment, with the smell of soup in the air and the sound of dishes clinking, Ethan's life quietly turned. Not with a big speech, not with a miracle, but with one small yes. Days turned into weeks. Ethan kept coming back to the shelter kitchen, not just for meals, but to help. He washed dishes. He swept floors. He repaired a broken shelf in the storage room. He showed up on time, even when he had barely slept. The staff started to notice. One afternoon, the same woman at the front desk called him into a small office. "We have a partner program," she explained. "A restaurant nearby needs a reliable dishwasher and someone who can learn basic repairs. It is not a fancy job, but it is a start. Would you be interested?" Ethan felt his throat tighten. A job, a chance to earn, to stand on his own 2 feet again. He thought about that day on the sidewalk, about the $5 bill, about the choice he had almost made at the liquor store door. He nodded, unable to speak for a moment. Then he said, "Yes, I would like that." It was not easy after that. Some days he wanted to quit. His feet hurt from standing. Old habits tried to pull him back. But every time he felt like giving up, he remembered 2 things. The quiet kindness in the eyes of the young woman with the white sneakers, and the way it felt when he turned away from the liquor store and walked toward the bus instead. Months later, Ethan was no longer sleeping on benches. He had a small room in a shared house. He had a simple phone again. He even started saving a little money each week. One night, he stood outside that same coffee shop where the woman had given him the $5. He did not see her. Maybe she had moved away. Maybe she never even thought about him again. But he thought about her, and he realized something important. The $5 bill did not fix his life. It did something bigger. It reminded him that he was still worth investing in. It gave him a chance to make a different choice. Sometimes, what changes a life is not how much you give, but when you give it, and how the person decides to use it. So here is the quiet truth of this story. A small act of kindness can open a door, but you still have to walk through it. Maybe you will never know how far your small kindness reaches. Maybe a smile, a few words, or $5 from you will become the moment someone else remembers when their life began to change. And maybe you are the one holding a kind of $5 bill right now. Not just money, but a small chance, a small choice, a small step. You might feel stuck, like Ethan did. You might think, what difference can this tiny thing make? But the truth is, you do not have to fix your whole life in one day. You just have to say yes to the next right step. So ask yourself, what is the small choice in front of you today that could quietly change your direction? Is it one phone call, one apology, one application, one day of trying again? You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. Sometimes, the biggest change starts with something as small as a crumpled $5 bill and the courage to use it differently. If this story touched your heart, remember this. You have more power than you think, both in your own life and in the lives of others. The next time you feel like what you have is too small to matter, think of Ethan and that $5 bill. Think of how one quiet choice, one tiny chance, can start a new chapter. If you want more stories that remind you of hope, of second chances, and of the strength inside ordinary people, stay connected with this channel. Like this video if it made you feel something. Comment and share your own small turning point in life, or a moment when someone's kindness helped you keep going. And do not forget to subscribe to Life Lesson Stories so you never miss another story that might change how you see your own life. You never know. The next story you hear here might be the $5 bill that changes your life forever.